Recording in progress.
Just hitting the go live button. We are now live. Quick sound check. Sound check working. Very good.
Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay. This is the Techno Buffet podcast, episode number 579, recorded Thursday, March 17th, 2022, in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome again to the exciting Techno Buffet podcast. It has been another week.
Techno? Where's this techno? I want to be an Android podcast. Gosh darn it, with all the grr.
What happened? Oh. Your iPhone disappointed you?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Matter of fact, I just got an update for it last night.
I was very disappointed because my automatic figure out the title functionality.
Yeah.
Somehow I did some upgrades over the weekend, and somehow it lost the title for articles from The Verge.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'll have to fix that. But it got a lot more other stuff. I fixed a whole bunch of little parsing bugs because remember how I said I wanted to be able to categorize? So I did all this work trying to figure out how do you get categories out of a HTML page. And some sites don't actually give
tags?
They don't always have them.
That's true.
I got as creative as I could think, and I may do a little more, but my philosophy is if I can find it, it will be loaded. But again, it's a work in progress. Also, I discovered that Google made my entire system crash.
Bad Google.
I'm referring to their blog, not any hardware or software they created. I didn't account for URL length. So I was you know that URLs can technically be up to 2,048 characters?
They can be longer than that. Depends on the browser. I've
had
URLs come through that are 4K.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm referring to the average limit, not necessarily the maximum.
Sure.
Okay, well, I'm using a database table that has existed for over 10 years that I don't want to have to change, even though I could. And that table limits a URL to 255.
Oh, well, that's unreasonable in today's tracking world.
Oh, I strip tracking.
I wonder.
Well, let me rephrase that.
Could you cram into the URL so that you go to it and it basically just unpacks the URL that you asked for and gives it back?
Yeah, well, I have a few. I have a backup storage option, but essentially I had to write in some code to check the length because I wasn't doing that, so it won't crash when it tries to upload it. But Google's so far the only one that has hit 255. And again, I stripped the tracking because I'm bookmarking it. Why is the tracking relevant? They've already tracked that I read it. And a lot of the tracking is, that it came from source RSS. And if I'm putting into the show notes, that wouldn't be applicable, would it? So I'm more saying that, it's not really relevant for me displaying it. Either way, I'll keep tweaking it. It'll keep getting better, so you get to have this continual challenge of this little side project of mine. But that's why you'll see when things get output, a few of the Verge articles don't actually have a title. But we're getting there. Progress is being made.
Yay!
Yeah. Anyway, that said, a lot is going on. So I did a lot of Home Assistant work over the last week. So even though I was not in my apartment until Tuesday night, I was doing some remote work cleaning up some old database entries and some old configuration from that no longer applies.
Yes.
So you know how it is. You configure your sensor in YAML, and then they change the YAML format, or they switch it into, or they switch it so it's now in the configurator, and now your YAML is legacy. So I did a whole bunch of. I just said, okay, I'm just going to get rid of this. So all of my zones were done in YAML. I moved them over to being inside the configuration file, so the dynamic configuration. So now I can move my zones around.
Ooh.
I also created a new zone called New York.
New York?
Well, the idea is this. So I have my home zone. Home is around my house. But my New York zone is like, I think like 50 miles around my house.
Sure.
So the idea is those are things that are going to happen as long as I'm in the region, but not actually in the house. So I came up with that idea to sort of say, okay, fine. These are notifications I want while I'm in New York, but if I'm out of town, I don't want them. So therefore, I can shut them off. I also added in some manually calculated sensors. So I was telling you about how I had found a thing that does a repeated calendar date-time notification for, not notification, date-time sensor for garbage and recycling.
Yes.
So the problem is I wanted a binary sensor, which will tell me when it is time to put out the garbage. So according to the city of New York, you are supposed to put out your garbage no earlier than 4 p.m. the day before they pick it up. And it's supposed to be picked up somewhere around midnight. So I have a binary sensor that is only on between 4 p.m. and midnight the night that the garbage has to go out. So again, a bunch of little tweaks that I'm using to and I also tried to tweak my arrive at home and depart home automations. Unfortunately, my attempt to make them better has seemed to have gone in the other direction. Because they, while they continue to trigger when I leave, they don't trigger when I come back, so the cameras don't turn off.
Ah.
So I need to do a little debugging. What it's supposed to do is it's supposed to turn off the cameras when it detects I'm within range, and then when I enter my apartment as indicated by me triggering the door sensor, which tells if the door is open or closed, the Google Smart Display in my kitchen is supposed to say, "Welcome home."
Okay.
I watched Back to the Future too many times. Anyway,
No, it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah, it hasn't worked.
Oh.
And I'm not quite sure why. The problem is the only way that I could actually, other than trying some simulations, to figure out why it wasn't working was to repeatedly leave and arrive.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Was that fun?
No, I thought maybe I just have to make the zone area temporarily smaller, so it's easy. So it's easier for me to leave it. But I'll figure it out. But it's one of those things where it's hard to debug. And again, a few more things. I read through every single integration that Home Assistant had, looking for ones that I had not used or had not noticed. So I also added, they have a Workday Sensor.
Mm-hmm.
That only is active on Monday through Friday and excludes Saturday, Sunday, or holidays in your region. So I'm using that to do some, workday versus weekday sensor stuff. Because there are things.
Crazy.
Well, I also I have another sensor that tells me when other things are happening. For example, I have a sensor that tells me when it is 1 hour before sunset, but only on a Friday. There's a reason for that.
Interesting, but I believe you.
No, it's a religious thing. Anyway, so beyond that, speaking of religious things, are you a celebrator of St. Patrick's Day?
I am wearing green, but I wouldn't say that I celebrate it.
Okay, well, happy St. Patrick's Day to anybody who does. Also, in a coincidence, because they almost never fall out on the same day, it is also Purim, which is a Jewish holiday. You'd like
I
it.
don't know what that is.
I mentioned this before. It's the holiday where it's actually one of only two holidays where there are traditions about getting drunk.
Ah,
There's a lot of revelry.
okay.
So, revelry aside, again, there's some celebrating going on. So last night I went and celebrated. And today I wore there's a tradition of wearing a Purim costume, so I wore green. And I called that a costume. I figured I'd be appropriate to St. Patrick's Day, even though I don't really celebrate it. And somebody sent me the traditional food of the day, which is a triangular pastry. I was complaining that whenever anybody sends me the traditional pastry of the day, they never send me my favorite flavor. So somebody sent me my favorite flavor.
That was cool.
Yeah. Although I don't really eat that many pastries anymore, so I don't know if it's a big box. So I'll have to just spread it out a bit before it goes stale. So did you accomplish anything of a home automated nature this week?
I got parts in.
That's good.
I have not assembled them yet.
I was supposed to get parts. I wanted to extend my Zigbee network to a dead zone. So I ordered some inexpensive Zigbee plugs, which can repeat the Zigbee signal. Except apparently Amazon misplaced them and has now transferred them over to a different provider who they say will be here tomorrow along with my knives.
I got in 8 strain gauges, 6 load cell amplifiers.
Bed or chair?
Bed.
Okay, so you're going to do the bed sensor.
A pack of 10 the D1 minis.
Okay, I have never used the D1 Mini. I've always gone for the. Lately, I've been moving from the ESP8266 over to the ESP32. But I've never used, even though the D1 Mini is an ESP8266, I've used the Node MCU variation. So I have never used the D1 Mini, but people say nice things about them.
I used the D1 Mini in the automatic garage door opener project, and the piece of the garage of the transmitter thing that goes in the car. So when you turn the car on, it wakes up and starts transmitting and tells the house to open the garage, and that works. And it works really well. It's tiny, it's cheap, it works well.
Yeah,
although
I went for the other one for a more practical reason. The Node MCU variations of the 8266 and the 32 have the pins pre-soldered.
Ah.
I hate soldering, as you've heard me say many times, so I can do it if I have to, but I burn out a lot of things for some reason.
I don't mind soldering. The Navy trained me to solder quite well.
Yeah, I said a few years ago that if I had somebody who was really good at it, who sort of coached me through it, I might get better. My high school electronics teacher did not effectively coach me through that, so I never got better at it.
Sure.
And I burned out a lot of components, so... Anyway, someday. But I look forward to hearing about that because I am a big fan of that. I would ask you if you could solder up a load sensor and send it to me, but it's probably going to end up in the package next to the other thing you were going to send me.
Actually, the hard part was, okay, so the hard part of this project is that my bed has 6 legs. Well, load sensors are normally set up to be in 4s or 2s or 1s. And you have to do some crazy stuff to get them to work in 1s. So the reason that I have so many load amplifiers is because I'm going to set them up in little bitty packs of 1 that I'll slip under the feet. So
I hope it works.
I have enough to make an extra one, if that does you any good.
I don't know. I was mentally trying to count how many legs there are on my bed. Let's say 1, 2. Yeah, there would also be 6. I would bet I don't have as big a bed as you do, because I'm assuming you have more than one person in yours.
Yes, it's a king size bed that my wife and I share.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I am a single individual, so I do not need a king-size bed. So my assumption was my bed was smaller, safe bed. But either way, just mentally thought about it, since I'm not going to leave the chair, that it does actually have 6 legs as well. It has 4 big legs and then 2 in the middle to prevent the middle from sagging. Since I have a memory foam mattress, and without middle support, it would sag.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I miss my memory foam. Anyway, my sleep problems with that and daylight savings. By the way, before I forget, it is off topic. Although, had I thought of it, I would have added it to the show notes. But apparently, the Senate unanimously passed a resolution to eliminate daylight saving time.
No.
No what?
That's not what they did.
I thought they did.
No.
Well, the House hasn't, but I thought the Senate. I thought it was unanimous in the Senate.
It was unanimous. However, it was not to eliminate daylight saving. It was to make daylight saving permanent.
Oh, I was referring to the process of clock changing, not the literal time that was being used.
Oh.
So you are right. I'm just saying that wasn't what I was thinking when I said it that way. So let me rephrase that. They voted to eliminate the clock change because ultimately I do not care what time it is as long as I don't have to change it every few months. It's the changing that I hate. I'll live with whatever time the clock actually says once it stops changing. So thanks to your senator, who I believe sponsored that.
Marco Rubio.
Yes.
Yes.
Not the biggest fan, but again, he did something I approve of, so.
I am not a huge Rubio fan either.
Yeah, but he did something I approve of, so good for him. I wish that was more, it'll affect me a lot, because as I said, I don't like doing it. But I wish that the Senate would solve problems of more weight than what time our clocks say. But I'm happy they solved that problem for me, or will. I seriously doubt the House will vote against it, and I can't see a reason why any president would veto it. But I've been surprised before.
This assumes that the House will pass it. I mean, the House is kind of crazy, and they're full of crazy people. So
yeah, but this is one of those things where I'm trying to figure out who is going to object to it. But anyway, we'll see. Because, again, I think it has a lot of popular support, and it's not an issue that is as weighty as a lot of the issues that we would hope the government would be taking up in some cases. But anyway, or actually, no, I would hope. I know you're a fan of smaller government than I am. But either way, I think you would also agree that the government might have better things to do. Anyway, that's that. So
that's never stopped them from doing stupid stuff.
Well, that we're in alignment on. We both agree that people in government and politicians do stupid things.
Yep.
Yeah. Wish they didn't. Anyway, so there have been some interesting stories this week. So apparently Android Auto has put in a feature where it will tell you if your USB cable is bad.
Really?
Yeah, so this is something that would have helped me when I had USB problems, and I've had a few for where I wasn't sure if it was the port, the cable, the phone, etc. And this probably would have helped. So I remember, and this happens whenever I drive my parents' car and put my phone in. Whenever the car goes over a bump, the Android Auto hiccups for a few moments, even though the cables.
Crazy.
Well, even though the cables look like they're securely in, but again, that one I don't know if a cable tester would help. But I've had other things where the cable didn't work, or my personal favorite, the cable didn't work because the car got too hot, as in the cabin of the car was out in the sun, and it takes a while for the air conditioning to cool it down. For some reason, until it cooled down, and I'm guessing because heat and cold cause expansion and contraction, that something happened, but who knows. Anyway, I think the idea that they have a little startup diagnostic that would help you with this is a great idea.
I completely agree.
Not much controversial about that. See, the next one is Google Docs will not let you draft emails and send them to Gmail. So you can collaborate on an email with somebody and then send it off to Gmail. I never really thought of email being a collaborative thing, but clearly somebody does.
Okay, cool.
And we seem to be on a Google thread here, which isn't surprising as we started out as an Android podcast. But Google Domains is out of beta after 7 years.
Wow.
So I do not have anything in Google Domains, but they are offering 20% off a single domain registration or transfer until April 15th.
Huh.
Their fees
I
are
do have stuff in Google Domains, and I have stuff at hover.com, which I keep wanting to move over.
Oh, stay at Hover. I'm a shareholder. I could use the money. Oddly enough, I don't have anything at Hover. And I just moved the Android Buffet name over to Namecheap. I was not thrilled with my previous registrar, so I just took advantage of one of their discount sales and moved everything over. They've been very reliable. I've never had to get support from them, but I have never had a problem. And I own more than one domain.
Cool.
The only problem I have now has to do with wildcard certificates, because that is done through the DNS host. So I had the DNS hosted by my VPS, but I moved it over to being hosted by Namecheap because they'll do free email forwarding, and as I mentioned, I don't want to pay Google $6 a month for an extra email account.
Right.
But I haven't figured out how to do wildcard Let's Encrypt certs, which require a cooperating DNS provider with Namecheap. I've read some stuff on it, but I have to actually sit down and figure out if I can do it. If not, I probably don't need a wildcard certificate for it. It's actually the only site I went for wildcard instead of single domain. I figured, you have to try something sometime. But either way, back to Google Domains. They're saying $12 per year, etc. And privacy is free, as well as access to their DNS system. And Google I/O, so again, going down the Google stuff. Google I/O will be taking place on May 11th and 12th. It will be a virtual event, but the keynotes will be live. So there's no on-site attendance for the general public. You can watch at io.google. They got themselves a special...
io.google, you say?
Yeah. Well, again, it's going to be through YouTube, so you can also watch through that, but it's going to be essentially a landing page. Pre-recorded sessions will be made available after the live stream. There are interactive features, and that is the only thing that requires registration. And it will be broadcast from the Shoreline Amphitheater stage, even though the general public is not invited this time. So I will be watching remotely. I don't see the need to take the day off. I'll watch after the fact. I've never actually felt the need to take off to watch an online live stream. I know people do. Also, I found this great article, which would be by... and I always get this wrong. It's Kellen is the person who writes a lot of the articles over at Droid Life, who wrote, "The Pixel 5 was such a great little phone."
Such a great little phone.
And I thought you would appreciate that as a former Pixel 5 owner. Well, actually, you said you still own it. As a former Pixel 5 user. And I, as a current one, whose only annoyance is that my battery doesn't seem to hold up. And I don't know why. But it was essentially this love letter to the niche intermediate space that the Pixel 5 occupied.
Right.
And I thought it was worth reading. So
I'm not a super large phone.
Well, I'm not a super large phone, and I'm
phone.
not a super cheap phone.
Yep.
Cheap in terms of budget components. To give you an example, I bought my parents the Moto G Power. They just released, which is usually the up until 2021 would be a really good $200 phone. They just the announcement for the Moto G Power 2022, really cut down on the quality from all of the specifications and reviews. So I don't know what I would get them if they decide they need a new phone. But it made me think that eventually my time with the Pixel 5 will come to an end. I'm usually on an every other cycle, so possibly by the time the 7 comes around, but we'll see.
It's not bad.
No, I figure that's reasonable. Also, that's about when they stop sending updates. Major updates, not minor ones. Again, continuing with the Android theme, because there were a lot of Android things I found this week. The Android team posted an article on their developer blog, which was helping users discover quality apps on large screens. So this is part of the 12L release. So 12L was designed to work on the operating system side of things to improve the large device experience. But now they are doing a bunch with the Play Store. So they're going to make changes in ranking and promotability. Based on this, they're going to alert users who are installing apps that don't work well with the screens that they're trying to install them on. And they're going to allow users to see ratings and reviews split by device type. So essentially, they'll be able to see what people who are on a tablet said about this versus what people who are on a regular phone or even a Wear device or Android Auto. So the people will be able to comment on the various versions of the app and how it works.
That seems... Wow. It seems like one of those things like, wow, why didn't we think of that before?
Well, to be fair, Apple is very much ahead in the tablet space. And Google keeps saying it wants to do things with tablets, but it doesn't seem to follow through. It says it wants to do things and then it falls off. There's another try. I'd like to see if they can make it stick. I don't know,
but I found these results on search.
Sorry, I seem to have triggered a Google device.
That you have.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's going to hopefully work out well. Because it didn't work out well all the other times. So between that and the fact that I'm still waiting for Wear OS 3, Google has not delivered on some of the recent promises that I'd hoped they would.
Like what?
Wear OS 3, large format support, not getting rid of things I like.
But they're trying. Right?
They are trying, however, I will wait for results because their previous attempts they have disappointed me on.
Okay. I'll find that. Fine. Okay, that's fair.
So the Google Home app has gotten a redesigned grid for smart home devices. Apparently this is coming to iOS and to Android, but apparently iOS may get it first.
Wow, that's weird.
Not always. Sometimes things go away. So the Google Home grid will be switching to tiles that are rounded rectangles as opposed to icons that look like the thing itself. So it looks
I don't know,
more,
man. I think rectiles is a perfect explanation or description.
Rectile? It wasn't intentional, but no. But previously, if you look at the old version, what would happen is it would be the name and then an icon that represented the device. Now it's going to look more like what you see if you pull down the notifications shade in the latest version of Android. So rounded. I'll call them rectiles if you want. It was a slip of the tongue, but it's probably accurate.
I would agree.
Yeah, so it looks nice because I never found those icons to be particularly helpful anyway. Anyway, let's see here. Moving along, I put in the official notification about the domains going out of beta, but somehow Google messed up my parsing. So in the show notes, it showed up as Lorenzo Bellacci.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. See, another thing I have to work on. So every time there's a mistake, I'm considering it an opportunity to improve my automation.
Yay, cool, good. That's what I do.
Yep. So the FCC now requires on-air disclosures for foreign-backed broadcasts.
What?
Well, I think this comes out of the RT situation. So RT has long been a Russian-backed news channel.
Only because its name is Russian Times.
I thought it was Russia Today. Isn't the T
I
today?
thought it was Russia Times.
I'm
Could
not
be
sure.
Russia Today.
No,
but we're fairly certain that the R stands for Russia.
Yeah, so this was that any time a station has been compensated to air content coming from a foreign government, there has to be a notation about that.
China paid us to air this type of thing.
Well, I think anytime somebody is, if it's a commercial, then it's obvious somebody paid you to air it. However, in the case where it is not obvious that they were paid to air something, I have a lot of domestic things that I think that a television station should admit they were paid to do, but that's a whole other conversation. I think it is good. Just tell us. So nobody's stopping anybody from doing things. It's just you can't lie about it. Or
I wonder if it would be useful if it would be cool if we could say if like Facebook had to say, we banned this person because the government paid us to.
well,
Or am I just
I'm not
Is that
sure.
right,
Does
Drake?
the government pay them to do things? I'm not saying they couldn't. I'm not sure if that's going on, but I suppose if it was, I would want to know about it.
right?
Yeah, although admittedly, I did hear YouTube and Facebook did promptly remove a deep fake about Ukraine recently.
Ooh.
Yes, apparently there was a deep fake of the president of Ukraine saying things that the president of Ukraine wouldn't say. I think the Russians could do better. They're not impressing me with their...
Remove it then.
They did remove
I
it.
mean,
I'm just saying,
I don't think they should.
they
If
should...
it's clearly something that he's not going to say, then leave it up, because people need to realize that seeing it on the internet doesn't make it true.
People definitely should realize that. Unfortunately, there are too many people who don't realize things like that.
Because we keep trying to.
I forget
keep
exactly how they
trying
took
to-
it down, because I think it's still viewable. I just think it's been deprioritized or what have you, but I'll have to look. Anyway, Discord has started to roll out an account switcher for users with multiple accounts in Android. So I've been waiting for this feature.
Discord? Really?
Why? What you're asking? Why do I want multiple Discord accounts, or why did Discord do this?
I just. Huh.
Well, with everything, I always have a personal account and we'll call it a professional account. So I have a Discord account for my dealings in one area, and I have a different account for my dealings in another area. So I don't like the fact that I have to log out and log back in, so I'd like to be able to switch between them. I route things in different directions, partially because I like to keep them isolated. I made a mistake some years ago, which has made me a bit, I'm not going to say nervous, but some years ago I closed out an account and I exported the data and was importing it into a new system. And the new system started auto posting old content to the wrong account from a different account. And for about 5 minutes until I deleted it, and it was 10-year-old content. So I've been a bit nervous about not keeping certain things separate from other things, because I don't want to be embarrassed by a mistake like that again.
I understand.
Yeah, somebody in 2014 was saying, "Why are you talking about your experiences on AOL Instant Messenger?"
Ha!
Because again, it was 10-year-old commentary. But anyway, that aside, I hope this feature comes because it would save me a little time. Moving on to Google Chat, Google Workspace updates. So I told you I decided to follow the Google Workspace blog in order to see what was going on.
Yes.
So now, when in addition to you being able to see out of office, you can now see the Google Calendar statuses in Google Chat. So essentially, if you try to open up a chat with somebody, some of those statuses can now be set by your calendar. Which again, seems like a simple feature. But it didn't exist.
Gotta say, not hating it.
Well, we talked a little about when they started putting in the statuses, which are very like speaking of AOL Instant Messenger, they're very, old school messenger. But it's useful if your chat presence is tied to your calendar. It doesn't have to just be tied to your calendar, but if your calendar says you're busy, why can't your chat know that you're busy and not make you change it yourself?
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so clearly they're trying to integrate the two, and that I don't always say integration is good. However, in this case it is. So continuing back to the story of tablet applications, on Android, I included an article from 9 to 5 Google where the author Abner Lee commented that about the underwhelming state of Google's first-party tablet apps. And as I said, this is Google doing what Google does, which is, make great tablet apps, but we're not going to do that. We're not going to make a point to say that this is a priority for us by actually doing something with our apps. Lead by example.
Yep.
So I want to sort of highlight, that's why I'm always nervous about Google doing these initiatives, because they say things, they sound good, and I'm on board. And then what happens? They do not live up to their own expectations. And I know how hard it is when you have a grand vision to live up to it. But they're Google.
You're saying they've got the resources.
No, I'm saying, I am saying that too, but I was more saying I have high expectations of them and they keep disappointing me. Maybe I need to lower my expectations. So elsewhere, Google Photos is testing chips to interact with text from images. So I like chips. Were you still there when chips came in as a design element?
No.
Okay, so these are like these.
I don't
Yeah, the chips are like these little, very small notification elements.
Right.
So the way that they did, and this is my explanation of it, the way that they redid everything is, you have the large rectile. See, I'm going to coin a term here, which is used for what you see in the pull down in the notification shade, and then you have up in the notification bar, what you have a lot are these chips. So chips are like a little mini version of it.
Okay, sure. Yep.
So
gotcha.
they're experimenting with this as suggestions during essentially lens. So you would see chips as part of when you were doing photos to do things like copy text if it recognizes that there's text in an image, etc.
Okay. Yep.
Again, it's a nice design element. Moving along, apparently Vanced, which was a YouTube client, was removed. So I found an article about alternatives if you want to get alternative YouTube clients. So Vanced was taken offline because there was a cease and desist order. So you cannot actually download it. But now there are some additional ones. For example, the only one that we've mentioned is NewPipe. So NewPipe is one of the oldest open source alternatives to the YouTube client. And I remember using it on a device that didn't have the Android store at one point.
All right.
That's the only time I've ever used it, to my knowledge. If you are a user of HBO Max or Discovery Plus, apparently they're becoming one streaming service.
That's okay.
Well, it's all of these mergers. So
Yeah, gotta shake things up.
well, AT&T's Warner Media is spinning off and it's merging with Discovery, so now they are the same company. But I have HBO Max through an HBO television subscription, that thing that some people still have, which
Right.
I got because I don't understand cable pricing models where they explain to you that the cost for your package with the thing that you don't need is less than the cost for the package with the thing with only what you need.
Right.
So I got HBO for less money than not having it, so I have HBO.
Makes sense.
Well, actually, no, it makes sense for me. I'm saying I don't know how it makes sense for them.
Because it's Is it for a limited time?
No.
Oh, well,
That's why I'm saying I don't understand their packaging thing.
I don't either.
So, again, might as well take advantage. I never watch HBO on a television, but occasionally I do watch it on the Max version of it. So why not? Anyway, well, I can't because my television is hooked in through a cable card, and HBO is not allowed on a cable card. They block it as DRM.
Right.
So it's not a channel I can access through my homebrew system. Which, by the way, I also upgraded this weekend to the latest version of Myth TV. So I've been doing a lot of upgrading this week.
The upgrading.
Yeah, but I never had Discovery Plus, so now I'll be able to watch all of the Prime Discovery Plus content. What's on Discovery Plus? I don't even know. Discovery Plus, programming drawn from Discovery, obviously. Let's see, do they have any original programming?
Shark Week.
I thought that was a Discovery thing. So apparently there are like 50 different new reality shows that are only available on Discovery Plus, so not interested. UFO Witness. I'm fine there. Indian Originals. Not against them, but I'm not sure it's my demographic. And some true crime anthologies. Okay. I probably won't notice if that's added to my lineup. Not really my interest. Moving along. Google has been giving Samsung preferential treatment. And
Say it isn't so.
yeah, and Android Central said, here's why it should. So Samsung has the largest Android market out there, so they are using that to give them preferential treatment. So you saw that where they partnered to bring out Wear OS 3, which I still have not got on my TicWatch, which now that I'm spending more time at work, I'm using more often.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been debuting a whole bunch of new features. They are first. Eventually it goes to other people, but they're using that as a test bed. However, to be fair, they have a test bed. It's called Pixel. But again, I don't mind if it goes Pixel Samsung than everybody else, because that's at least fair. It's our exclusive boutique stuff, then our biggest partner, and then it'll get to everybody else. But again, don't blame them for that, but that's what's happening. Apparently, Google Contacts is getting rid of that hamburger menu. I set it off again. I'm going to have to mute that thing during this. So they're getting rid of the hamburger menu, then the hamburger menu is back. It's confusing. Do you want to Yeah, but what I want to do is pick a lane. Either you have a hamburger menu or you don't have a hamburger menu. Stop deciding, we got rid of it, then bring it back. It just confuses people.
I think that happens when people don't, when they have a hard time, when people are not vocal about the things they want, then then the people in charge will say, well, nobody says they want it, so they must not want it. So let's get rid of it.
This next one I want to try. The unofficial Lineage OS 18.1 brings Android TV 11 to the third generation Amazon Fire TV stick lineup. So I bought a couple of Amazon TV Fire Sticks when they were really inexpensive on sale to use as Myth TV devices. But then I ended up with those on Walmart Android TV devices that were much easier to work with. So I think I still have at least one old Fire TV stick in its original box, which means it would be running the older version of their operating system needed in order to get rid of their operating system. So maybe I'll give it a try when I get a chance, although lots of other stuff going on. So who knows when, but worth trying. If you are the owner of a Pixel, some Pixel owners cannot use contactless payments after the March update.
Weird. Why?
They broke something. What do you mean why?
Did they do it on purpose?
I don't think so. They claim that as of the 14th they fixed it, but we're back to they broke something, which happens again. At least they fixed it within a few days, as opposed to some of their things. There were some bugs that they created that took like 2 years for them to get around to fixing. even though there were very fundamental things that they should have spent time on. In a speed story, apparently Google rewrote the Play Store UI with their Jetpack Compose software, and it is now 50% less code and faster rendering.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, so this is their tool that they recommend that app developers use. And apparently they, in this case, they put their money where their mouth was. Unlike some of the other things where we've complained they were not doing that. So good for them. Except they're still hiding my change logs. Not happy about that. If you are free on April 12th at 9 a.m. Pacific, you can attend the App Excellence Summit.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, so this is, again, a virtual fireside chat and in-depth product sessions. And there'll be sessions on achieving quality, improving developer productivity, and better together, which is their program for multiple connected devices. But they start out with this statement. 54% of users who left a 1-star review mentioned app stability and bugs.
Sure, I'll buy that.
So I hope all of the developers who aren't fixing their bugs go and attend the free App Excellence Summit to learn something at no cost. At least I gather it's free. It didn't say, is there a cost for that? Let me look. I thought it said free. Hope not. Well, actually, it doesn't say anything on their page that it costs money. So. If I were trying to make things better, I would not charge for it. So hopefully I'm right. If you are a subscriber to Hulu Live TV, it now offers free unlimited DVR just like YouTube TV.
Whee.
And again, back to Android L. The company is drumming up hype for tablet-first design on their YouTube channel. So they're trying to convince people to care.
That doesn't seem like a bad thing.
No, as I said, they've just hurt me before.
Yeah, I understand.
You know, once bitten, twice shy.
Yep.
If you have rejected Chrome and have gone over to Firefox, their Firefox Useful Email Forwarding service is now available for Chrome. I just find that a little amusing. So you've gone over to Firefox, you want to use a Firefox product, but you want a Chrome extension for it. Anyway, I sort of get it. I like the freedom to choose my browser independently of choosing my service that allows you to create up to 5 email aliases for 99 cents a month. Excuse me, it's free for up to 5. It's 99 cents a month above 5.
Well, for what it's worth, I tend to have Chrome and Firefox open most of the day. Both
Yeah,
of them.
I know. I find it interesting that they put in a Chrome extension. But again, they have to make money somehow. I don't think 99 cents is so bad for a service like this if you want to have unlimited email forwarding.
Yep.
I was looking into doing some self-hosting on this because the reason I never wanted to host a mail server was always about the security and spam. But I saw some forwarding and, like alias products that might solve that a bit. And, I'd still end up pumping everything into a system that had all that features. I would just be creating my own aliases separately and saving myself money. So, moving along, I just sort of like the title of this story. It's more from Google. So this is about the March feature drop, but I just like the more.
Mm-hmm.
Because there always seems to be more from them. And we've talked about some of these things before. Nearby share. So I've never actually done anything with share. Have you ever used like those share? There's a similar thing on iOS where you like bump phones with somebody and suddenly you're transferring things.
No.
I've never had the need to transfer a file or something to somebody who was standing next to me. Although, being fair, I've been standing next to people a lot less over the last 2 years. Not that I did it that much beforehand, but again, I can't think of what I want to transfer to them, but again, good luck. I'm still waiting for offline functionality for Live Transcribe to come to my device. I have not seen it, but I haven't tried recently. It was exclusive originally to the Pixel 6, but it has not shown up on my device, but again, I haven't looked today. Could be there now. Then, of course, there's parking. Full assistance support to pay for parking. That sounds weird to me. I don't know why.
Yes.
I think it's because, like, at least 3 times during this podcast, I have set off a Google device. So I would rather not have my device automatically pay for parking. But I'd rather have it not automatically pay for anything. I think that's, again, me being cautious. And, of course, if you use the Google TV app, there is a new interface. Yay.
Yay.
Moving along, Graphene Os, which, of course, is one of the many third-party open source OSs based on Android. It is already offering Android 12L for a Google Pixel. So essentially, they've already come up with an open source fork, which is fine.
Sure.
And in one final story before we wrap up, from the people over at Ars Technica, who I spent a lot of time making sure, I think I got their tags, by the way, for the future. I definitely got their author, because I feel like I don't give enough attribution to people like John Brodkin, who, according to his bio, has worked there since 2011.
Wow.
He's a senior IT reporter. Anyway, he wrote an interesting article on router and modem rental fees are still a major annoyance, despite the fact that the law now is supposed to prevent them from being an annoyance.
Yeah.
Which I think you could have predicted. So the law prohibits them from charging hardware rental fees when customers use their own equipment. So that was the law. It was, you can't charge people for using something if they don't use it.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, so apparently they asked for, this was Consumer Reports asked for information about this, and they got over 350 responses that they sent to the FCC. And allegations the law is being violated, where others state that the new statute is being respected, and many stories say that now ISPs are dissuading consumers from using their own equipment by refusing to troubleshoot any service disruptions if they don't rent their devices, which result in situations where customers feel pressured or forced to rent equipment that they would prefer to own instead.
Okay.
So again, this is sort of the law of, I'll say, unintended consequences, which is, namely, you prevent people from charging a fee in one situation, they will find a way to do it some other way.
Yep.
Which they do. So Frontier Fios, which is, Fios is usually a Verizon thing, so Frontier is where they took over former Verizon territory.
Right.
They used to charge a router fee, even though they had their own router. So since they're not allowed to have that, they now charge an internet infrastructure surcharge and a Frontier Secure Personal Security Bundle.
So you're saying fee's gonna fee?
Yes, so essentially they just reclassified it.
Yep.
Yes, so there is a surcharge, according to Frontier, that is necessary to ensure 24/7 support of internet access. I thought that what's necessary to support 24/7 support of internet access is you paying your bill.
That's what I would think. Yep.
That's why surcharges offend me. If there's a cost of doing business, just give me a number. Don't break it out into three or four sneaky little numbers to make me think as if I'm not paying the amount that you agreed to. If it costs $7 more for me to get your service because you've had to raise prices because of your costs, roll it into the advertised number. Why do you have to put it as a surcharge?
Yeah, I know.
And
I
again,
think they're.
just annoys
I
me.
personally think it's much like adding the 0.9 of a cent to the gallon.
Yeah, at the least that's a psychological thing. That's a little different than this, where it's a significant amount. Although admittedly those 99 cents of a gallon do that, but it's the same thing as when you go into a store. Have you ever gone to a store and seen something that was priced at $13 as opposed to $12.99?
No.
That is all psychology.
Circumstance. Right.
I understand that. I don't like it, but at least it's one price. What I'm saying is that cable companies and internet service providers, what they do is they advertise a price, and then they say taxes and fees. And you think that means just what the government charges, but it's also like $20 in fees that they themselves charge that aren't mandated by anything. That's where I'm saying that's sneaky.
It is sneaky.
You want to make it $44.99 to psychologically make me feel like it's less money. Okay, fine. It's still one number. Don't give, not only that, when you try to ask anybody for a service provider, when they tell you it's $44.99, well, what about all that other stuff? Can you give me a bottom line number? Do you know how hard it is to get an actual bottom line total from anybody who represents a service provider?
No. Is it hard?
For me, usually. No, they usually have to go away for like 5 minutes and come back and tell me what my first bill will be. The easiest number in the world should be to tell me how much I will have to pay them. And they do this in other industries. Did you, I'm not sure if you remember, it changed in the airline industry a few years ago. You used to get advertised fares, and then it would be plus taxes, fees, and charges.
Right.
The advertising laws now require them to advertise the advertised sale price has to include the taxes. Now, they allow for the fact that the taxes may vary slightly, but it's supposed to be the average tax paid added in. So now when I look at the number, I know that it will be pretty close to what that number is. I'm not going to get another $20 in surprises. It might be off by a few cents, but it will not be off by $20. And again, we're back to sneaky. So here's where I want the government to once again step in, even though I know I'm going to regret it, because when the government steps in, other bad things happen. I'm agreeing with you on that. But I want those same laws that when a company advertises a price publicly, that price should include all of the common fees. If there are charges that vary by municipality, that's a little different. But I'm saying if it is a charge imposed by that organization, it should be part of their advertisement in clear letters, not in tiny print or not omitted entirely, in a line that says plus fees. You're going to advertise something to me. Tell me how much it's going to cost. See, I'm mad about this.
Clearly.
And I'm not going to take it anymore. Well, I am, because I don't really have a choice, but I don't want to take it anymore. Anyway, I think that brings us to the end of our program for this week.
I think it does.
Are you sad, Jerry?
I am.
Well, just remember, at this time next week, we'll be back doing this again.
We will.
Unless you're busy next week.
Not so much.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyway, until next week.
Until next week. Bye, folks.
Goodbye, Jerry.
Recording stopped.
You found a lot.